Hi guys, I'm Laura Vitale. On this episode of Laura in the Kitchen, I want to show you my take on a chile relleno, which is a roasted poblano stuffed with cheese, coated and fried. It's delicious and I adore it. So I want to show you my take on it because it's not a difficult recipe. It's a little labor intensive, but it's really delicious. It's totally worth it. Definitely a special treat because it is fried. Let me run you through the list of ingredients you're going to need. What I have here are some poblanos. They've been washed well. I've got some shredded Monterey Jack cheese. Traditionally use a hard Mexican cheese, which I find a hard time finding, so this works really well. I've got some plum tomatoes that I've just roughly chopped, dried oregano, a small bit of cinnamon, some water, salt and pepper, olive oil, eggs, flour, vegetable oil for frying. And you're also going to need, which I already have in this pan because I was going to get a head start because I'm impatient. I've got some onions and garlic finely chopped in a little bit of olive oil. Now, I like to start with the sauce first because there are quite a few components to this recipe. So you have to make the sauce, you have to roast your poblanos, you have to let them sit so that so that you can peel them, then you stuff them, then you batter them, then you fry them. So I like to do the sauce first because once the sauce is cooked, I'm going to let it infuse off the heat with a little piece of cinnamon. Now I know this might not be traditional and all over the place, but I have a friend who comes from Mexico and she tells me that a small piece of cinnamon is the key to really good chile relleno. Now it shouldn't be so much that you can just immediately taste cinnamon and it's overpowering, but it should be just enough so that you kind of have almost a scent of it rather than a flavor in the back of your mouth as you're eating it. In fact, my favorite Mexican restaurant makes their chile relleno with a little bit of cinnamon in it, so it's a must for me. But if you don't care for it, by all means, leave it out. To my onion and my garlic, all I'm going to do is just add a small pinch of salt. I don't necessarily want to brown these. I just want to cook them until they become translucent. And while that happens, using my immersion blender, you can do this in a regular blender or a food processor, I'm going to puree the tomatoes until they're super, super smooth. No chunks in sight. These look great. Like I said, I don't want them colored. I just want them to soften a bit and become translucent. Now I've got my tomato puree. It looks pink, and it, by the way, smells like summer because the tomatoes are super, super sweet and juicy and fantastic, but it will turn a beautiful deep red color. Now your sauce should be a bit brothy. It shouldn't really be super thick. So I'm gonna add my oregano. I don't know why I was doing it like that. And some water. Add that right in. Now when I order these at my favorite local Mexican place, which by the way, it's quite addictive, so it's probably a good thing that it's about 40 minutes away from me, they come smothered in this brothy, tomatoey, cilantro, cinnamony goodness. It is just, they're to die for. A good pinch of salt, a little bit of black pepper, and now all I need to do is pop this. I'm going to put it on the back burner so I can roast my peppers and show you that. This just needs to simmer on about medium-low heat for around 20 minutes, and your sauce will be pretty much done. So I'm going to pop this in the bag, and then we'll get going on roasting our peppers. Now I'm going to do this on my gas burner, but if you don't have one, gotta be careful because these do slide. If you don't have one, you can do one of a few things. You can do this on your outdoor grill, or you can just throw them. You can just pop them on a baking sheet, turn your broiler on, and just coat them under the broiler, giving them a turn very often. What you're looking for is for the peppers to be pretty much blackened all over. You don't want them to become, you don't want that that char to become gray because you've just taken it too far and you'll start to actually burn the pepper itself. You just want that skin to be nicely charred. I'm going to show you what they look like when they're done. I'm going to just pop them into a large bowl until all 4 of them are done. And you just have to keep rotating them and moving them around to make sure each little piece is getting some of that flame, These look perfect. You see that? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover these with some plastic wrap, and I'm going to just set them aside somewhere for about 15-20 minutes or so, or until the peppers are cool enough to handle, and then that way the skin will come off really, really easy. This would be the perfect time for you to shred your cheese, to get your eggs and your flour and your vegetable oil, everything all lined up. I already have my cheese ready. I've got everything going, So I gotta show you. So I'm just gonna take a little break while these gonna set aside and cool. I'm gonna stir my sauce, make sure that that's going pretty nicely, and then we'll proceed. All right, my peppers have been here for about 15 minutes or so. I'm about to turn off my sauce because it's been simmering for 20 minutes. I'm gonna go do that, and while I'm at it, I'm gonna turn it off and then throw in my little cinnamon stick. It's just a little piece of a cinnamon stick. You don't wanna use a whole cinnamon stick because it'll be too overpowering. So I'm just gonna throw in a little piece, and I like to throw it in when I turn the sauce off so that it can sit and infuse without it being overwhelming. So I'm gonna go do that, come back, and start peeling my peppers. What I like to do is I like to take a big bowl of water and a big bowl and fill it with water. If I don't have to rinse the peppers, I don't want to, because you get rid of all of that beautiful charred flavor. But as you can see, when you make sure that pretty much every little piece of the pepper is charred, the peel comes off right away. But I like to have a bowl of water mainly for my hands because the skins really stick like crazy. So please don't rinse your peppers under the sink. You get rid of all that beautiful roasted flavor. It's like all the work that you've done, bye-bye. So you don't want to do that. So that's why I like a bowl next to me, and if I ever feel the need to, like, you know, something is really stuck or something, I just kind of take my fingers, get a little bit of water so that it kind of helps things from stick to my hands, and then just do it that way. And if there's any small pieces of skin on your pepper, like a little here and there, that's fine. No one's gonna be bothered by that. So I'm gonna clean the rest of them, and then I'll show you how I like to stuff them. All right, so once you have peeled them, you need to sort of open them up. So what I do is I kind of go right here, about a quarter of the way in from the pepper, and I stop about a quarter of the way from the bottom. You don't want to pierce it through the other side. You kind of want to open it up a little bit, and if you feel like there's some tugging, you just want to take your knife and let that help you along, like that. And then I just take my knife and I kind of cut very carefully so I don't cut through the pepper. I kind of cut the core out and any stringy pieces or anything like that, and then I just take a spoon. Again, you could run this under the water and it'd be a lot easier to get the seeds out, but I really don't want to do that because I don't want to get rid of any of that flavor, because then they really become flavorless. If you wash your roasted peppers, they really lose everything. So then you take your seeds out like that, right? See? And so this is how I stuff them. I just take some of the cheese, about, I would say, it's really hard to say, depending on the size of your pepper, really. I just take some of that cheese. You want it from tip to tip, because remember, this is the only filling. Then, my hands are a bit sticky. Then, I just take one piece of the pepper, right? One side of the pepper, like one of the slits that we've cut. I gently overlap it the other side, and then I kind of just put a couple of toothpicks in there, usually about 3, to seal it. Now it's stuffed, it's lovely, it's gorgeous. I'm gonna do the rest of them, and then we'll get to making the batter and frying them. Now I know it looks like there's a lot going on, but really my advice would be you can do the sauce and the peppers up until this step, stuffed, the day before. And then just fry them last minute and reheat your sauce, and you've got Chiles Rellenos at a moment's notice. So it's a pretty good dish to know that you can make ahead of time because they're really stellar. And if you want to make them for a crowd, that'd be the easiest way to go. These are stuffed and ready, so now it's time to work on the batter. Now what I have here are some eggs, and I have them separated. I've got some egg whites and my egg yolks. What I'm going to do with a handheld electric whisk, I'm going to beat the egg whites until they're really nice and frothy. You don't want stiff peaks, you want a really good frothy consistency. These look great. Now I'm going to add the egg yolks along with a pinch of salt. And I'm going to whisk this now together for, I would say, about 2 minutes or so. So I'm going to do that. Make sure you also have got some vegetable oil in a large skillet with high sides. You want about a ½ inch of oil coming up the temperature. You want it over about medium to medium high heat. I'm going to keep whisking, and then I promise we're nearly there. Excellent. You want it to be nice and thick, but you also kind of want it to be thin enough so that it kind of falls back on itself. Otherwise, it'll be too thick. So, oil is hot. Taking my pepper. This is how I do it. You dredge it in your flour lightly. Kind of move it around. Shake it off. The flour is going to help that glue stick to the pepper. So just move it around. You can use the top as like a handle, then right into the hot oil. All that needs is a couple of minutes or so on each side. I will show you what they look like when they're done, and then I'll grab the sauce as well so we can start serving up. My peppers are just about there. My last two have maybe just a few seconds left, but I have to serve some up because I am just drooling. I'm just gonna take this one closest to me. I'm going to take out the little toothpicks. I see them right there. Then I must, anyway, I don't know if you do, but I must pour over some of this gorgeous sauce. And then if you want to, of course, some cilantro would just take it over the top. I'm going to take these two out. When they come out, I like to make sure that I season them a little bit, at least one side anyway, with some salt so that they're well flavored. And then we just kind of cut it right into it because this is exciting stuff. Oh, look at the cheese. You see it? Oops. I see a toothpick. An extra toothpick. Oh, the cheese. Seriously, another toothpick? Man, I wanted to make sure that cheese stayed in there. Look at this. The cheese is melted. It is the very stuff of dreams. This is going to be hot, but I'm willing to sacrifice for all of us. It's for the team, you know? That is such happiness in my mouth. I cannot even describe it. It is the epitome of perfection. And like I said, I know it's a labor of love, but they are worth every single second. And if you make them in stages, you can make them the day before, and then they'll take no time to fry up and eat. So wonderful, so easy. The recipes on LauraInTheKitchen.com, they don't require a ton of ingredients, which is great. I hope that you make them, and I hope that you enjoy them as much as we do. I'm gonna go dig back in. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.